Hey, what's up? So I just wanted to share some brief thoughts on the Assassin's Creed 4 Resynced, specifically related to removing the modern time events. The game itself looks great. I had actually recorded a video like around 20 minutes long before playing it back for myself to check it before uploading it, only to find out that the audio was all broken, and I never ended up re-recording that because I was like, screw it, man, like whatever. Anyways, I actually think it looks good. But I am not a fan of the idea of removing the modern time events. I think that's really stupid, especially considering they're actually like the main story. And they're not the main story of the focus of the game, right? But they are the main story of why we are experiencing these characters, of why there are agents that have gone into these virtual realities to sync with these people and get to know their lives and their history and all that kind of stuff. There's a whole freaking purpose of that for the current time. So it's just funny to me. I don't like that they're removing it at all. I understand that there are a lot of players that don't care for those parts. Even I was bothered by it because it's a bit jarring to go from this really cool action game that you're really enjoying into another part that's completely different. It's kind of like the side games. Even in like Assassin's Creed Revelations, the first time I was forced to do the tower defense mini game as part of the story. They do it one time to give you a brief tutorial, but it's a part of the campaign. And I was like, oh man, this is dumb. I just want to play the game kind of a thing. But I actually felt the same at first about Assassin's Creed 4, where I was forced into doing ship battles. I didn't want to be a pirate. I wanted to play Assassin's Creed. It's why I played it. A lot of people, they love it for the pirate thing, right? Like, so it's funny, right? They have different fans, right? I'm specifically a fan of the Brotherhood, the Assassin story, and stuff like that. The Apple of Eden and Isu are my favorite parts of the entire series. That's why the newer games have kind of they're the Isu and the Apple of Eden stuff has always been a very tiny part of the games, and that was always like frustrating and disappointing to me, even in the Ezio trilogy, because those were the coolest parts of the games, man. Um, but anyways, so at first, well, I mean, I love Assassin's Creed 4, and I love Rogue, really like Rogue a lot. But I really didn't care too much for the story of Edward. I thought Edward was a terrible character, and I didn't give a crap about all these fantastical pirates that they met as part of the story and all that. But it is a cool game though. It's a great game, and I do like it, and I will eventually play the resynced version as well. But I just the whole modern removing the modern time stuff is funny to me. But I remember also like even specifically part four, because like the Ezio trilogy had cooler things with Desmond, right? Like his current time stuff was cooler than like part four's current time stuff. You don't really do anything in it other than walk around really slowly. Anything I would do change about that specifically would just be to speed up the walking pace to not be kind of snail pace. They had cool stuff though. There were little Easter eggs and stuff for walking around your office and looking around and stuff. But mainly, I really enjoyed the story parts that of the current time events. Like that stuff is really cool. I would love to see a current time Assassin's Creed. I really would. I'd love to like, or even a future one, like sci-fi futuristic like Assassin's Creed. I think would be freaking cool. And of course, there would be people that would hate it, you know. But I don't know, man. It's something I think would be interesting. But anyways, so yeah, I don't think it's a good idea to remove the things. I am curious what they're gonna do as far as keeping the story alive. They might just do data logs like what they did with Assassin's Creed Shadows. There are these data logs in Assassin's Creed Shadows that you unlock, and they're actually amazing. And it's about AI, dude. It's all about freaking AI. I forgot about that because part of the Isu stuff is also related to an AI of a sort. Um, Interesting stuff. I don't want to get into like the deep parts of the story, but it's kind of got an AI style to that as well, and you don't know that right away, like in the first couple games or whatever. But the further you get into that story of Isu and those things, it gets nuts. Like it's just crazy, interesting stuff, man. It's also like the gods, right? But the gods and not all the gods, but like one of them ends up kind of being an AI, right? But anyway, Shadow's data logs is really cool, and there's even discussion in it about like the AI being more advanced than they knew or expected, and it's learning too much, and they don't want it to learn too much or something like that. You know, right? Like it gets pretty crazy and cool. So another thought that I had is I was like, if they're doing this for part four, I also remembered while I was thinking these things. So the whole modern day removing that makes me, I'm just like, come on, man, that's so dumb. Um, but as long as I think as long as they're able to keep the story in it somehow, then that's fine. It makes sense, right? My guess would be data logs of some kind, right? They did apparently they've added new chapters to the game towards the end. They have I think it was 8 new missions or something like that that were not in the original game. It's for extra story, right? So I'm curious about how that's gonna be and stuff. But if they remake part, what's there's they've I think it was announced, right? Or you would say either a rumor or was announced. I think it was announced though that they are working on a part one remake. That was one thing that made me mad about about part four being resynced first. Resynced, right? Remaster. Now we got resynced. Anyways, if they remake part one without the modern time event, that's also going to be stupid. They need to just update those, right? You know, not just remove them from the game, just update them, make them better. That's what I would have done with part four. You know, then they were saying stuff like, well, the audience doesn't seem to care about it. Those people are morons. The ones that don't care, they don't care about the story. That's what you're telling me, because those parts are the story. That's the actual freaking story. So you're telling me that you care more about the players that don't care about the story? That's what you're worried about? You're worried about players that don't actually like your game? That's weird to me, man. That's really stupid. So, and I also made me think like, who is this guy that did that? That said that? Was he even did he even work on these games, or he just brought in specifically for this remaster? Because it doesn't make sense to me like that. You're literally telling me that you prefer the opinions of people that don't even like the story of the game. It's kind of funny. So I can understand the gameplay elements themselves not being that interesting. Like I said, part four, you mostly just in those modern time events, you just walk around really slowly while you're getting to know the story, right? So that part I can understand, but that was also kind of how you experience that specific part of the story. I would have preferred more gameplay, you know. But like I said, that's yeah, like I would like to see a current time Assassin's Creed. I don't know if they could get away with it, right? You know, it would have to be more focused on some kind of mysticism or whatever, right? Mythology and stuff in the present time. They couldn't just assassinate current people, right? They wouldn't. I suppose if it was an indie game, they could get away with it, right? I mean, I've seen video games about killing the president, you know, that are indie games, but nobody's playing that, right? Nobody's talking about it and stuff, but they exist. It's kind of funny. Um, but yeah, I don't think that a big company would get away with doing that, you know. Anyways, but I think they could do like a futuristic one, something in like a sci-fi flying cars and you know stuff like that kind of a thing. That would be freaking cool, man. Especially because there was I don't remember which one it was, which game is. I think it was an Ezio one with Desmond. I think if I remember right, it might have been Revelations, but there was a point where they were in the current time and he's like up in skyscrapers and you're running around through skyscrapers like these enormous tall buildings and stuff and kind of platforming there a bit. That was really neat. Anyways, I just that's all, man. I just think the current time stuff is good. I would just update it to be more fun and interesting to play. But as far like that's how you get to know the story and stuff. So I'm not a fan of just outright removing it. I think that's kind of silly. All right, I'm gonna go now. Let me know what you think. Talk to you later. Bye.